Assalamu alaikum, peace. It's Fatimah, Coach Fatimah, 1/3 of Outstanding Personal Relationships and co-author of the new book, Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored. If you don't have your copy, head on over to Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored or letstalkpolygamy.com for details so you can get your copy today. Now, what are we doing here on this fine Friday? Jummah Mubarak to you all that are Muslim. I just want to say that because I know you do say that to me. Today, we are going to be talking about a few things. But before we do, make sure you guys share this video because this live, because sharing is caring. And you guys on Facebook, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you're notified every time we do go live. Now, again, I'm going to introduce myself. Coach Fatimah, 1/3 of Outstanding Personal Relationships and co-author of Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored. And tonight, which will be it's evening for me. It might not be for you, but we're going to do some polygamy quick tips tonight with Coach Fatimah. So I just want to say that. And if you guys have any questions toward the end or whatever the case may be, you want to first let me know where you're at. And so I want to shout you out, but if you have any questions, be prepared with them and make sure you put a question mark in front of those questions because I want to be able to readily identify them because it's harder when everybody starts to kind of talk within the comments to keep up with the questions and try to find them. So you're going to want to put a question mark in front of those questions. Also, I want to tell you guys, if you haven't already, join our polygamy community. It's a private community where like-minded people can discuss polygamy and the different triumphs and challenges. You can share your wins. We have meet and greets that we're planning. And to do so, you're going to want to head on over to polygamycommunity.com because when we're on Facebook and YouTube, it's more difficult to kind of weed out, different negative energy. And if you don't want to deal with that and you're really seeking support in a setting that is a very safe space to do so, head on over to polygamycommunity.com for details. Okay. And another thing that's really, really awesome, and we've been getting some great feedback on, is the polygamy readiness assessment. Head on over to outstandingpersonalrelationships.com for details. If you don't know where you're at when it comes to polygyny, which is the practice of having more than one wife, but it is under the umbrella term of polygamy. Okay, you're going to want to head on over to outstandingpersonalrelationships.com for details on how you can take your test. And it doesn't take that long, okay? Take about 7 minutes tops. If you stall on some of the questions, it might take a little bit longer, but I don't really see you having to do that. So we're going to get right into the content for tonight. Again, I'm on the continent of Africa, so it'll be tonight for me, but good morning to you all. So polygamy quick tips tonight with Coach Fatimah. We are going to discuss, we're going to talk about it. Is polygamy breaking you? Or are you hiding from old wounds? Now, I must say, and let me know if you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up in the comments so I know that you can hear me. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can, but I want to make sure that you can absolutely hear me. So just leave a thumbs up. And also let me know where you're at so I can shout you out as we always do. And let's get on over to the conversation of the discussion. So personally, I'll just give you some background. I don't want to be, I don't want people to think that I believe that everybody knows who I am, because they do not. So I'm the initial wife to Coach Nazir. We were married 15 years before he decided to practice polygamy or polygyny. We're Muslim, so that's what it's called in our way of life as Muslims. So let me just check something real quick, guys. So he decided that he was going to practice polygyny and marry Coach Nyla after we were married for 15 years. So I had somebody tell me, they was like, wow, he waited a long time. I was like, he did, for me, it didn't feel that way, but absolutely, he really, really did. That's a long time. And although he wasn't seeking out polygamy at the time, it's something for me as a practicing Muslim, I believe that it was something that he was supposed to do when he was supposed to do it. And that was almost 15 years ago. So I'm just going to say this because it doesn't serve us if we're not honest. If I was a Muslim man, I would never take that off the table for myself, because you don't know how you're going to feel on down the line. You don't know. You don't know if you'll change your mind. You don't know if you want to become more, as Coach Nazir always says, and he means that. I see the wisdom in it. I really didn't at first, because I'm like, yeah, but you changed, you different. And then I had to look and go, you're different too. Fatimah. I'm not who I was years ago, and that's a good thing, because growing up into the right is good. Now, if you're not, you're gonna have to do some work on yourself. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You might have to do some work on yourself, and it's good to grow and learn and understand one another, but we can only do that if we listen. So, like I said, I wouldn't take that off the table for myself if I was a Muslim man. And everybody doesn't want polygyny. Everybody doesn't want to practice it. Everybody doesn't need to. It's not for everyone. It's not. We know that. We're not saying that it is, because we were in monogamy and now we're in polygyny. So Coach Nazir practices, he's the husband, and we're his two wives, although you only see one of us, myself, Coach Fatimah. But understanding that he had his set of tests in his life, and I had mine. I did, and they look different. I've never been a husband in this marriage. I've never been a man in this marriage. If I had been, definitely wouldn't have married me. But you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I'm just reading the comments, guys. Thank you guys for the support. The Cayman Islands. That's so cool. It's so cool. Welcome. Especially if you're new. If you're not, welcome to you as well. We appreciate the support. We appreciate that you all are mature enough to be in the discussion, be active on Facebook and YouTube, even though you might be going through a challenging time. Our hearts are with you, but we're here to help. We're not here to break the families up and divide them. We're actually here to help bring them together, because we remember what it felt like when people were trying to tear our family apart, and they can only do what you allow, right? So we all have the same goals in our family, and I pray that you all are in sync with one another and share some of the same values with one another and support each other. You're not going to get perfection. It was people before polygyny. You're not going to get perfection. And polygyny predates Islam. I know Islam always gets this bad rap or this negative connotation with polygyny, and we always get thrown under the bus. Us and the Mormons, shout out to them. But we all kind of get dumped in the same energy as far as getting blamed for polygyny, yeah. Oh, awesome. Sweden. So we have the Cayman Islands, we have Sweden. This is so cool, because let me tell you, I never thought I'd be doing this work, but I'm so happy I am. I love coaching. And if you want to learn more about my coaching program, you can visit me at coachfatimah.com for details on that. I go into really deep dive there, a really deep dive into training, and there's so much to offer. And they're private sessions. There's no, I don't share anything with anyone other than yourself. So I want to make sure that you know that you can visit me at Coach Fatimah for details on my coaching program. It's really, I enjoy working with those if we're a good fit. I don't work with everyone. I have limited space and limited slots for my program, Nourishing Fulfillment Pathway to Empowerment Coaching Program. So check me out at coachfatimah.com. New York, Texas. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Welcome, everybody. Now, I'm going to go back over to our polygamy quick tips, but I just wanted to tell you, after 15 years, Coach Nazir married Coach Nyla into polygyny. So she is, I'm just letting you know, if you're new, for sequence, for timeline, I'm the initial wife and she's his subsequent wife, but we all are wives and there's no wife hierarchy. We get asked that a lot and there isn't any. So let's get into this. Is polygamy breaking you, or are you holding on to old wounds? So one of the ways to find out if you're holding on to old wounds is recognizing that you might have emotional baggage. So one thing to understand is that our past baggage has no space in our present if we want to have success in any marriage, whether it be monogamy. But since we are dealing with and talking about polygyny, or the practice of having more than one wife, it's important to make that specification that, listen, a lot of times our husbands don't know we have emotional baggage. They don't know we have abandonment issues. They don't know we have past trauma. They don't know we were traumatized in the past and we're trying to power through it. They don't know. And they're not gonna know, and they can't read our minds. Because I'm gonna tell you, a lot of people say, well, what about the men? What about the men? Let me tell you, from the coaching that Coach Nazir has done, the men are not complaining about having more than one wife unless the wives are generally upset. They understand why they want polygyny. They understand that, listen, it might not be easy, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm committed. We as women, oftentimes, we're not committed to it because we're not making the decision, and we're sitting in the decision of our husband. Now, for me personally, I had an issue with it because I was in an unsupportive community. Community was unsupportive. I had past childhood wounds. My mother didn't raise me. My grandparents raised me. My paternal grandparents raised me. My mother grew up in foster care. She had me at 20 years old. She had a baby from a previous relationship at 18. So when my dad met her, she already had a 2-month-old daughter. Shout out to my older sister, but we didn't grow up together. I barely know them. My mother and my sisters and my siblings on that side. I don't know them like that. I know my co-wife far more than I know my own siblings. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. Because we got to know one another. So sometimes when adults don't get along, children pay for it. So I came from abandonment twice. I'll just get into that very quickly. And that showed up later on in my own marriage. My mother didn't raise me. My parents broke up by the time I was 3 years old. My mother ghosted, lived her life. And my grandparents who raised me, they finalized their divorce the year I met Coach Nazir in high school. So it was a huge, it was really traumatizing to not wake up in the morning and see my grandfather or be greeted by him. He came every day in the evening to visit, every day. He made sure he was present in that home. But when they started their divorce proceedings, they did not like each other at all, my grandparents. And we were the recipients of that dislike and contempt. So polygyny for me felt like abandonment and failure all over again. I didn't have an issue with polygyny. My issue was, I said, okay, if he's not here half the time, what if he just kind of walks out of our lives? And Coach Nazir has scoffed at this and not understood it to a certain degree where he can't even fathom me believing that, because he's always been there for us, for our family, for our children. He's never abandoned us. We've always been able to have access to him. He's always been my husband 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this idea that for some reason he would just leave us because he married again was just unfathomable, because he made a commitment. And I love what he said. My grandmother and him had a private conversation. He said, I'm not going anywhere. And she called me and she said, well, he's saying he ain't going nowhere. She didn't like it, but she did respect the fact that he was honest, and he said what he said, and he meant that. So I have always celebrated the fact that he stood on business and was like, I don't know how any of you people would think I would ever leave my family, because then it's almost like saying that somebody else is trying to get him to do that. And that was just not the case. That was not the case. And we talk about that more on YouTube, and we do train extensively in our different programs about wounds and healing and overcoming and empowering yourself, even though it is not easy. It is not impossible. So, alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I'm just giving greetings. So now let's check back into the emotional baggage that we might be carrying. So you heard about mine. I came from brokenness twice, so I thought polygyny was just going to be third time's a charm. I was like, you'll ultimately move around, because I didn't understand it, because I didn't know that he married again. And he'll tell anybody that's not the best way to do it, because you have to reverse engineer a lot of things. And I wasn't ready to have the conversation, but then I said, he'll have it with me when he needs to. And it's kind of like one waiting on the other one. So wives, open up the conversation. Husbands, open up the conversation. If that's what you want to do, be honest, own it. If you really have a desire to do it, say that. You might be met with some blowback, pushback, threats, even in some cases. Just know, and you might be embraced with, support. You never know. I had a friend of mine years ago. She said, I want my husband to marry again, but he won't do it. She said, I don't know why. And I said, because he has to commit to a lot. That's big. And he said, I don't want the responsibility, was his word. So I'm like, you better believe him. He said it. So yes, addressing past wounds is important, and past emotional trauma, because you might not find your husband there. You might find your parents. You might find your grandparents. You might find your siblings, and you might find yourself. And you're dumping some things in his lap that he never signed up for, that he never knew about. He didn't understand. He didn't know about. There's plenty. Coach Nazir didn't know about me until he got into polygyny. Now, the vast majority and the lion's share of it, you guys, he does know. Like the back of his hand. But some of the trauma stuff, because I got a pretty strong exterior, and I owe all of that to my grandparents. But at the same time, they stuffed things down until they had to go, and then just pour it all over everybody. So I'm not saying it's necessarily the best thing to do, but I've learned how to say, okay, this person might not know what's going on in your life. You might want to share that, because they're wondering what's going on and you've not shared it. And is it fair to know? Because what we don't want is that our spouses become collateral damage because we didn't clean up our emotional baggage or share it with them. That doesn't mean you have to go into great detail at all. It doesn't mean you have to do it tonight. But telling them or inviting them or asking them if you could share some things that happened to you. And again, you don't have to be super detailed. It's kind of eye-opening for them, because then they can say, oh, that's why you reacted this way. I didn't understand. And it gives them the information. But inviting them or asking them, can you share it, is important, because then they get to decide. Not that we're a burden, but they'll have the burden of having the information or protecting the information. So asking them is important. Now, when I met my husband in high school, I had someone that was really, how do I put it? Someone in my life that was, I don't want to use the word stalk, y'all, but they were someone that was a violator. And that violation stopped after I met Coach Nyla, because if you've seen him on camera, if anybody has met him, he's very regal. He's stoic in some ways. He's very reserved. He has a presence. He is fearless. He's probably the most fearless person I've ever met in my life, because I've been here a long time and I have seen some stuff in his youth. Although he protected me as best he could, I really appreciate that, because he could have been one of them crazy boyfriends that put me in there with him, because he talks about his life as a young juvenile and the struggles he went through and how he had to grow up. And he grew up rough and one of those guys from the other side of the tracks type, ex-gang member, things of that nature. So he had a presence, and he did not talk a lot. So people were kind of scared of him in high school, and he, without saying a word, could own any room that he was in. So what I did with that is created this protector in my mind, to the point where he was like a superhero, not worshiping him, not anything like that, nothing that was over the top. But I looked at him as he was the Black Panther for me. Black Panther in a different way now. But what was so awesome about him is that the person that was the violator was so intimidated by him that they left me alone. So that's the beauty of, but what happened was, it's beautiful. However, you end up trauma bonding as a youth. You know, when you suffer loss, we both lost our siblings. My sister at 13 died of childhood cancer of her brain. And then his brother, may Allah grant him Jannah, he was murdered some years later, or years before. He passed away first in 97, and my sister died in 2001. So these were the siblings we were closest to. So to lose them was difficult. So we were there for each other in those moments. We were there. I mean, I had to deliver the news to him that his brother was murdered, and that was the hardest. That probably was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And that's probably the hardest thing he's ever had to hear. Because at least with my sister, we knew that her time was running out, because she was sick for 4 years. She got it when she was 9. She passed away 2 weeks before her 13th birthday. So because we started out so young, and we weren't Muslim when we were in high school, so we dated, and 5 years later, we started our journey into Islam, and we had our first child, a beautiful dynamo daughter of ours who's really awesome and fearless like her daddy and my mother too, but she's built up like she's got that warrior princess stuff from her father. So I love that. But trauma bonding, definitely. So sharing those things that have happened to us, or sharing for me personally, I keep saying it, but sharing for me in my life with my husband, okay, this was going on in my life when you came along. It's like, oh, okay, you know, so that's important. So discussing those wounds sometimes can manifest insecurity or jealousy or mistrust in your current relationship, because you'll say, like I did, when is the other shoe going to drop? When are they going to leave? And if I had really been looking at the man before me instead of the trauma that I had been through, I would know he wasn't going anywhere. And, you know, deep down, we know the truth. And sometimes we act like we don't know what we don't know, what we do know. And it's not easy to call ourselves into account. But as I put my husband on this protective pedestal, I'm like, oh, this is my hero right here. This guy is my hero right here. Because he just always was there. I had a really bad car accident we were in, and Coach Nazir was in the back seat, and I was in the front seat with my grandmother. She was driving. I forgot my purse at the movie theater, and there was a pickup truck coming, and it didn't see my grandmother's sports car. She had a sports car at the time, and it was black. But what happened, because there was a canopy of trees above us, the trees made the car look invisible. So the car looked like a mirror, and it was just reflecting the trees. So the truck didn't see us. He stopped, and then he started to go. And I said, "Is one of you going to stop?" And in that moment, Coach Nyla from the back seat, we were teenagers. He grabbed me in my coat, guys, and then he pulled me back, all the way back. I'm like, what is he doing? You know, I'm a teenager, so I'm like, you know, what is he doing? And I'm like, oh my God. And in a split second, I said, I'm about to sail through this windshield, because I didn't have a seatbelt on. He pulled me back, and I hit my head on the mirror, and the mirror went down under the brake. So I knocked the mirror off, the rear view mirror off with my head, and then I opened the door and spilled out into the street. I don't know why I opened the door. I don't know if I was thinking about gasoline leaks or what, but I recall the firefighters coming and asking, how did she get out of the car? And my grandmother and Coach Nazir just said, she opened the door, she fell out. It wasn't from the accident. I just was leaving. I was like, let me get up. I need to get out of this car. And had it not been for him, I would have went through the windshield. They made me very aware of that at the hospital. See, so I put him on the pedestal a little higher. You saved me, right? Save me from the predator, save me from the car crash, save me from and it was just a series of feeling saved by him. Not that I worshiped him at all. None of that. I just was like, this is a protector. And he still is. But when you're a teenager, you can exacerbate or inflate certain traumas or inflate certain scenarios in your mind, and you get this Prince Charming thing going, which can be very detrimental because when they make another choice, such as polygyny or whatever the case may be, and you've built them up to a certain level, then you go, well, you changed it up. No, they absolutely did not, because you're looking at the man that you've made a fantasy out of, not the man that's before you. So I encourage any wife, don't look at your husband for who you wish for him to be or who you created him to be in your life. Look at him for who he is. The best thing my husband told me, I've not changed that much. Now I'm talking about maybe his hair is different. Maybe he has more. I love that he calls his gray hairs chrome. My daughter said he calls them chrome, and I love that. Maybe he has more of this. Maybe there's more wisdom. Maybe his heart is bigger for more than one wife, and to be a father to more children, because he has 10 biological children and 2 bonus children. I didn't see that stuff coming, y'all. I didn't see it coming. I didn't see any of that coming, right? But Allah already knew. God knew what I knew not, right? So when he said, I've not changed that much, meaning I've been wanting to do polygyny, maybe didn't know how to go about it, or I was wishing I could, or whatever the case may be. I wish you were more approachable, as a wife. I wish you had brought it up. But I believe him. I said, now look, a man that's like that and has a past that he has, they don't waste it. Well, look, he's not going to be lying about that. He's serious. He doesn't practice lying. He's like, look, this is who I've been. This is who I've been. And I tell any husband, don't hint to your wife. Don't play game. Don't tease. Don't do those things. If you want another wife, let's sit down and talk about that. And let's also listen, wives. Let's listen to what he has to say, because you might find that your husband wants this and he's trying to figure out how to go about it. And he might want some feedback. He might want to pour his heart out and be vulnerable. And the worst thing we can do is punish him for it and go off and threaten. Because I'm going to tell you this, I'm not leaving a good man because he has another wife, because I'm over here too. He has good wives on both sides, I'm not going to leave him. I'm not going to divorce him because he married again. And my co-wife is not going to not marry him because he's married. And if there's more wives to come, to the 2 and some, they know we're here. Coach Nyla and I are very difficult to forget. There's men out here and women out here that are not in our family that remember us. So women that may want to marry Coach Nazir, and if he's open to it, he said he's open, but if he is, and there's more wives to come, they know Coach Nyla and I are here. They're not blind, they see us. And if they don't, they can get a load of us on YouTube and Facebook, because we've made plenty content and videos about polygyny. So identifying emotional trauma bonds that we don't even know we're making, creating, is important to identify and share with our spouse at the appropriate time. Like, you don't want to call your husband up at work and tell him about your trauma. He's got to focus, but scheduling out an appropriate time is important. And distinguishing between something happening in the past and something happening in the present is important. That's vital. It's critical to the success of your marriage. So because my parents might have abandoned me, that didn't mean my husband was going to. He never has. But I'm like, they always leave. These people say they love me and they always leave, or they don't show up, or they don't check. He had no reason to not check on his wife and his children. He's always checked on us. He's always been present. He's always been there in an appropriate time. So I don't expect him to show up at my house, at our home at 3 a.m. in the morning. He's with my co-wife at their home. And I don't call him to. And I don't bother them. And she doesn't bother us. So he knows if I'm calling him at 3 a.m. and he's at his other home, baby, somebody has passed away or they're very sick. He knows that this has happened. It's happened both ways. It has. So we're making sure that it's appropriate. I don't need to check in on see what he's doing and how, no, that's not my job. It's called a boundary, and we observe those. So currently, our current dynamic, and this is the dynamic of many people that are in polygyny, is there's more than one wife and one husband. That's not cheating. We've been using these terms, not me, but I've heard women say, well, he cheated on me. He got another wife. My husband cheated. He's a cheater. He did all this stuff. Stop saying that your husband is cheating on you when you're saying your husband is cheating on you, and then you feel cheated on because you said that. Instead of saying my husband is at his other home with his wife, just like you're one. So not to diminish yourself. Let's not do that. So if I go, my husband cheated on me, am I going to feel cheated on? Yeah. Ask yourself appropriate questions, not inappropriate, not give yourself inappropriate statements. I had a neighbor say to me once, well, don't you feel cheated on? Well, how does it feel like you got cheated on after all this time? I said, who got cheated on after all what? Who? Because I want to hear it again. I want to hear you say it to me. Oh, well, isn't that it might be cheating to you, but it's not cheating to us. Because what we're not going to do in the middle of my lawn on a Saturday is have you sit up and tell me my husband cheated on me and we're Muslim. We knew that when we became Muslim, we signed up for it, and this has always been part of Islam. Don't do that. Because I will, on a Saturday with you, teach you how to talk to me. Because you clearly don't know. She's like, oh, I thought it was, no, honey. No. This is not cheating. This is his wife. Baby mama. People say all types of stuff. They'll say it, around other people, but rarely say it to us. Well, ain't that his baby mama? What? You can't hold two legal marriage licenses at simultaneously in the United States. The United States might go, crazy Muslims, whatever. Y'all say wives, but we're not writing that down on these, you're not having two marriage contracts. That's fine. Keep it funky. We don't have to. But just because somebody else doesn't recognize polygyny, doesn't mean that I'm going to ignore it. They're allowed to do whatever they want to, but what we're not going to do is play in my face and say my husband cheated on me. Okay? It's important. Terms are important. Labels are important. Okay? So if we don't call our co-wives or our co-wife or our husband's other wife, you might not be ready to say co-wife yet. You will feel differently if you say baby mama. Because that's not what he did. He got another wife. And we got to be careful about what we say to ourselves and about ourselves and our marriage and our husbands and who we are. Devaluing. It's so much devaluing going on. We'll drag ourselves before anybody else gets a chance. But isn't it interesting that outside of the realm of polygamy, that we won't allow anybody to tell us that we're not a wife? They'll say, yes, I am. I'm married to him. Oh, I thought y'all was just, I thought that was your boyfriend. No, he's not. That's my husband. Oh. But then when our husbands marry again, then we cease being wives. And then we start talking about baby mamas and girlfriends and side pieces and that stupid term, side wife. They need to get rid of that. That's so ignorant. Oh, that's his side wife. It's still a negative connotation of side piece, mistress, and carrying on like that. Make sure you guys can hear me. Put a thumbs up in the chat. I think you can, because I see some comments here. Speaking of which, if you have any questions, put a question mark in front of the question so that I can readily see it. And also, if you haven't taken the polygamy readiness test, you can. There's still time. It's free at outstandingpersonalrelationships.com for details. And everybody on YouTube, Facebook, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, and share, because sharing is caring. Okay? I want to make sure I just say that right now, because I don't want. Awesome. Thank you for the thumbs up. I love crowd participation. I love crowd participation. Now, sometimes we need to heal. It's critical for us to address our wounds so that we can absolutely honor our healing. I mean, if we don't know what we're going through, how can we identify what we need to heal from? So if it's jealousy, you guys, jealousy is natural. Possessiveness, careful with that, because we don't own anybody. But to be jealous, that's normal to be jealous. It's not abnormal. Now to show out and go off and swinging on people and attacking folks online and calling people out of their names, people meaning our co-wives, our husband. I almost said husbands. Y'all see the devil. But yes, absolutely. It's important to be mindful that, okay, you might feel jealous sometimes, but to use foul language and call each other out of your name and accuse one another of things that the other didn't do. You trying to take my man. First of all, you can't take a grown man nowhere he don't want to go. And you can't take, that means he doesn't have a brain or thought or mind of his own. So my co-wife didn't take our husband anywhere. She didn't take my husband. He went and married her. Same way he went and married me and built a family. And we have one big family. They have children. We have children. Our children are siblings. We love them all. They have the protection of our mouths, our hands, our bodies, our hearts. We embrace them all. There's no children that are above the others. That's not how it works. Our kids are siblings and family, and we're not going to treat them anything other than that. So I'm not going to protect my son. My other son is 17, so he's not a little boy, but my 12-year-old son, I'm not going to protect him and then push Coach Nazir's biological sons, because they're not my biological sons, but they're my sons. They're my family. I'm not pushing them to the side. Say, well, you treat them poorly, but leave this one alone. This one mine. No, don't bother any of them. Don't bother any of the children in this family, because I wouldn't want you to have to get some work. Yes, sharing is caring. People hate when we say it. That's okay. Let them. Haters are your biggest marketing team. So yes, part of healing is understanding that we need to identify what's going on, make sure that our loved ones know what's going on with us, create boundaries for ourselves, et cetera, to be actionable and intentional. These are things you can do today. Know that jealousy is something that's not abnormal. It's not. So when we go, I'm not jealous, I don't care what you do, that's a problem. Now, let me just tell you this right here. That doesn't mean that the women, my co-wife and I don't go around trying to make each other jealous. We don't do that. Excuse me, guys. I don't do that. I'm not all over him in front of her. She's not all over him in front of me. We don't do that. We wouldn't dream of it. We wouldn't dream of it. because we want to provide peace for one another. Instead of saying this is not going to work, we said, how is this going to work? What can we do to make it work? What can we do to make it work better? And we had to, each one of us now had to address our past trauma, things that maybe triggered us, let each other know. Coach Nyla and I sat on and had some awesome conversations about how she grew up. Why did blending come so naturally to her, so natural to her? Because she came from a blended family. So I said, this family, not just her, I said, this family knows how to blend with one another. Like, that's what they do. And they're a big family. So it wasn't, once I listened to her life and her logic on so many different things, I understood her heart better. So I said, oh, that makes sense. Because if you're from a blended family and there's a set of older kids and a set of younger kids, and we have older kids and there's a set of younger kids, okay, this makes sense. So what she was really sharing with me is that she had a big heart. That's what she was sharing. Like, I have enough room in my heart for all of you. I just pray somebody opens their heart up to me, And I was like, oh, I get it. And then I was able to share that with my daughters, because we had 4 daughters and then 3 boys. So my daughters are grown for real. And being able to share that with them and tell them, what, I think you need to get to know her. It's not about me being their mom and giving them permission. It's about them knowing that that's available to them. And they did that. And a lot of times kids got to find out where their mother kind of sits with things. I got to check with my mom to see if we like her. So we have to be careful about what we say to our children too, as far as our trauma goes. We want them to have success. Even though it's not easy for us, that doesn't mean it's never going to be easy. I always used to say that I don't talk to her yet. I haven't talked to her yet. But I always hoped to, but I didn't know what to say. You don't know what to say to someone. You really don't. I'm going to answer your questions. Put a question mark, excuse me, guys, in front of the question so I can readily see it, because I won't be, let me tell you, it'll get lost in the shuffle and I don't want to miss any of your questions. But we're going to close this out pretty soon. The last thing to do, so if we're healing and building, it's important to address those wounds, okay? You can journal. People think it's overrated. It's not. You don't have to put names in there, guys. But journaling and brain dumping, getting it out of your head, talking to a trusted friend. Your circle does not have to be big. Your circle of trust might be you and your best friend, or you and your parents, or you and your spouse, or you and your co-wife, and you don't want to overshare with her, right? Right? Because you don't want to break her heart. But yeah, I've had some of my deepest conversations with my co-wife, and it's really surrounding how we grew up and what we had to overcome, and how has this been for each other without demonizing anybody. And I was like, I'm so glad I listened to her side. And I wish I'd have talked to her sooner, because I'd have felt better quicker. I'll tell you that, because some of us just think polygyny is just for a husband. It's just not the case. She said it wasn't about marrying him. It was about the whole family. I had never heard nobody say that before, ever. Shout out to Coach Nyla. Hugs and kisses to her, because that was probably one of the realest things she's ever said to me. She said some pretty real stuff to me. Let me tell you. Because I could smell BS 10 miles away. I was raised by old people. I'm an old soul. And she never came like that. That's not of her nature. She's not that type of person. She is who many people aspire to be. And if the world had more people like Coach Nyla in it, we wouldn't be in half the hell we're in now. Not a fraction. And if I got to be the a-hole between the two of us to protect her, then that's what it's going to be. That's just what it's going to be, because I want people to leave her alone. Because I think, and this is off the subject, but I think many subsequent wives get such a bad rap, and they get turned into this diabolical mad scientist or this demon that's supposed to be trying to break up a family. And they want a family too. I have a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine. It's like a sister to me. That if I tell that girl there's something going on with me over here, she flew out to Africa. She's like, okay, what you want to do? She's one of those. She's one of those. She knows who she is. She's one of those. She was a single mother of 2 children from 2 different failed relationships, a failed relationship and a failed marriage. So she kind of knew what Coach Nyla was trying to get me to understand. She said, Fatimah, it's not about what you think it's about. She said, when you've never been a single mother, you don't know what it's like. She said, we want a family too. We want a family too. We want a husband. We got kids, yeah. That stuff failed, yeah, that's in our past. But we want a family too. And they're allowed to have one. Now, sometimes the family they want, the man in that family might be married already. And that's what it looks like. Look out the door. Look around. Did y'all check out the Olympics? Did you see the drag show on the Olympics? That's what you're dealing with. Polygyny is the most normal thing you're going to be dealing with in today's times. There will be a lot of women calling to be in polygyny because the men, some of them, the good ones, somebody asked on IG, where are all the good men? Some of the good men are married already. That's where they're at. And some of them don't even get a second glance because what? They're a garbage man or they don't make 6 figures a year. You're going to pass up someone with a golden heart because they don't have a black card? They have black card and have a black heart to match. My husband, when I married Coach Nyla, he didn't have much, but I knew he was a good practicing Muslim man that loved me and our daughter. I knew that. And he'd get in fire with you. He would protect us to the death, and he still will. Like, yeah, he's the guy you call him for big stuff. You don't want the problems. You know what I mean? Everybody knew that in our neighborhood, in high school, and when I was in college, he wasn't a guy to play with. He wasn't. And everybody's not built that way. And he wasn't walking around with his chest puffed out. I ain't the dude to play with. No, you just knew it. You just knew. You know that energy when it comes in the room. Okay? I've given a few disclaimers to people. I'm like, honey, don't do that to you. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. I'm just reading the comments. You seem tough and don't take no mess from anyone. I don't. I used to when I was younger. I don't. Because these are things I don't play about, sister. I don't play about the people I love and that love me back. I don't play about my family. I don't play about our religion. I don't play about those things because they're not to be played with. These people don't play with me. They don't play about me. And they're my family, my co-wife included, honey. That's why I tell folks, don't do it to yourself. You can, but you got a tribe over here. Big tribe. And we're loyal and we have each other's back. We do. We do. Okay, I'm going to get to your questions. Have them ready, guys. So the last part I want to touch on so we can close out this, this probably quick tips tonight with Coach Fatimah. Letting go. The power of releasing old emotional baggage to create space for growth. So I had to let go of my abandonment issues to love my husband on a deeper level. Had to. And part of loving him was becoming loyal to what he loved. And that was his other wife and his children. So one thing that men have to find out, this is what they do with everybody in their life. Men, you can comment, leave a comment if I'm telling the truth on this next part. This is what men do with everybody they meet. They're trying to figure out if you're a teammate or an opponent. They got to see where they need to place you at in their life. What category? Because men compartmentalize. They put this in a box and then they go, okay, I'm going to deal with this right now. This is what's in front of me. I got to tackle this right now. Put that in a box and then they'll pick the other box up and let me get over to this one and then they'll put something else. That's what they do. And I've listened to Coach Nazir and I've interviewed him. I've asked him, I interviewed him. It's on YouTube, y'all. I've interviewed him and asked him very specific questions from others, from myself. I've interviewed him in our home. And I learned things about him that even I didn't know. And I've been here a long time. And I say that because I mean it. I'm not trying to age myself, but I've watched him grow up. He watched me grow up. I've had the privilege of doing that because he's my mentor. He's my imam. I admire him. He's my teacher. Sometimes he's my tour guide because I got a hell of a sense of direction. Let me tell you, I do. But that man, he'd be like, no, we got to go. I'll be just following behind him because I trust him. And how did I do that? I gave my permission to trust him again. I did. I said, I don't have any reason not to. He got married. I didn't know it. Okay, now next. When the dust settles, okay, now next. Because it's not about making our marriages exactly like they were before polygyny. It's about making it the best it can be. And it might be better than what you had before polygyny. You don't know that. You don't know. You're blocking yourself sometimes from a level of love that you've never reached before. Okay, that's what it's been for us. That's what it has been for us. Yeah, no, I don't have time to play no games, and I'm too old to lie, and I'm not elderly. I'm just saying I'm old enough to. That's not what I do. Okay, because I feel like this. How can someone know what to do in our lives if we're withholding the truth from them? How can we help each other if we're withholding the truth? The truth don't have to come out ugly. It just needs to come out. Just offer it. Just say, you know what? If you marry again, I know I'll be jealous. And sometimes I love this quote. It said, sometimes women, all we need to hear is I got you. Because an I got you means, that doesn't mean you make me happy. Like it's your job to fix this or make me happy. We put a lot of pressure on men sometimes to do that. And we don't even realize we're doing it. Because they go, I need to make her happy. I don't know how to do that. What am I supposed to do? Help. It's not their job to make us happy. It's not their job to make us whole. We just all need to show up that way and do the work that it takes. And so I don't tell Coach Nazir, go out there and go forth in your day and make me whole when you get back here, okay? I don't do that. It's just like if you think about weight loss. And I'm going to get to the question, y'all. If you think about weight loss, do we ever tell anybody to hurry up and lose the weight that we gained? So if I gain weight, do I go to my co-wife, Coach Nyla, and say, will you hurry up and lose this weight I got? Dang. Do we do that? No, we don't do that because somebody would call and take us away. Why? Because it's senseless. It doesn't make sense. It's impossible. So when we think that our husbands are supposed to make us happy and fix everything that goes wrong, fix my insecurities, fix my jealousy, fix my anger, fix my depression, fix my sadness. I'm not happy anymore. Come home and make me happy. No, we don't. When you have that expectation, get rid of it. Because that's all it is. See, sometimes our expectations are so high that when our husbands don't meet them, then you're not a good husband. We want people to show up like us. And I've said this before. Coach Nazir is always going to show up as Coach Nazir. He'll never show up as Coach Fatimah, ever. He'll show up for me, again, at the appropriate times. He'll do what he can within his grasp for me as a husband, but he's not to cater to me. He doesn't answer to me. I don't control what he does. I'm not his mother. I don't summon him to me. I give suggestions. I give support. He listens. I listen to him. We're grown. I don't. He's not my creation. But that man has never showed up as Coach Fatimah ever. Not once. And how dare I think that he should? He loves me the way Coach Nazir is supposed to love Coach Fatimah. He doesn't love me the way Coach Fatimah loves Coach Fatimah. I don't dictate to him. Because last time I checked, I didn't show up in this world perfect. And I've not lived a perfect life. That is absolutely not my attribute. So how dare I have that expectation of my husband? He must now show up perfect because he married another wife. Fix it, bruh. No, absolutely not. That's not his job. It's my job every day to get up with purpose and drive and determination to be a better Coach Fatimah than I was yesterday. And sometimes if I'm not a good Coach Fatimah in the morning, I bake doggone sure I'm a good Coach Fatimah by lunch, by dinner. I'll go tell her to go lay down somewhere and take a nap. Oh, you cranky, go to sleep. Shouldn't have to wait for somebody to say, what is wrong with you? Because we have access to our bodies all the time and our brain all the time, and our brain is listening. So when we put limiting beliefs on ourselves, we have ourselves to blame. When we say our husbands don't love us because they marry another wife, any of that stuff, when we do that, we have ourselves to blame. I have never had a client who has told me that her husband told her that he no longer loved her. They'll tell me, my husband doesn't love me anymore. I said, how do you know that? Well, he married again. Okay. And then they'll go, I'll ask them, well, when did he tell you he didn't love you? Oh, well, he never said it. But you're saying it to yourself, sis. You're putting words in his mouth, and not only in his mouth, but in his heart, that he never said to you. Sometimes what happens in our heart is driven by our ego and our insecurity. And we really don't have an issue checking somebody on their ego, but we may find it difficult to check ourselves on our own ego. I had to move mine out the way. I'm like, I can't get to know my co-wife if my ego is standing in between us and she can't move it. She'd have moved it years ago. I have to do that, right? I got to be the one to do that. Okay, guys. So just a quick recap. This quick live, the polygamy quick tips tonight with Coach Fatimah. We did cover recognizing emotional baggage, notes in front of me, distinguishing between present issues and past pain, reflecting and having personal accountability. A lot of times I've been called the confidence coach because I talk about how to have a confident spirit, even in the times of challenge. And I've trained and I've coached on that specifically because it's so important. Confidence is so beautiful when it's harnessed the right way. Also, we discussed healing before building and letting go to grow. Now, letting go to grow is something that I invite everyone to do. So on my journey in my life, I had to let go of my 19-year-old version of my husband and let the other one grow. And I had to grow because of it too. I'm like, this is not the man you married. And he's not completely different either. He's just more mature. He just has more knowledge. Anybody that knows Coach Nyla intimately, they know, like his friends, his business associates, his children, his wives, we know that he has an incredible love for information and books. One of my goals in life is to build him a library for himself. And maybe it can be passed down to his children, specifically his sons, as they're younger. But knowing that he has such an incredible love for books and information, to have a place where he could just have walls of books that he loves would be such a blessing and be a gift that I would want to give him. And I would absolutely want to give my co-wife a she shed. I definitely would, because who would love that? Who wouldn't love that? I know I would. I would. Oh, I would love that ball up in the she shed today. But anywho, discussing those things is important. So letting go of this image or possible fantasy that we have about our husband versus who he said he is versus who he's tried to explain to us that he was is important, right? So instead of having these high expectations and unrealistic expectations and saying, well, you know, he would never practice polygyny, he would never get another wife, he would never want to have kids with anybody, but did he tell you that? And you'll find that he might have said it and he might have changed his mind or evolved on another level of expanding his family. And maybe that's something that you don't want to do. I know I didn't want to have any more children and shouldn't and shouldn't. And I had 7 people. So I helped populate this earth. So if Coach Nazir wanted to have more than that, that wasn't my decision to make. It absolutely wasn't my decision to make. Okay. So let's just understand letting go to grow. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to get to this question again, guys. If you have questions, I am going to let you know to put them and have question marks at the bottom so that I can readily identify them. Okay. So question from Muslima: how to deal with a co-wife that doesn't want to talk and become a family? I'm new to polygamy. Okay, I was that person. Good question. I really like that question. I was that person. Sometimes you're showing up as someone that's more open, maybe. That doesn't mean it's impossible. That doesn't mean it will never happen. It just means that we don't know where others are and you can only control yourself, right? So the best thing that my co-wife did for me is to not push me into a relationship or try to force me to talk to her. We were always cordial. We always spoke to one another. We've shared a couple hugs, maybe a few pleasantries, some jokes, and just briefly and like that. So there was never any stress or strife as far as that goes. There was no conflict. There was no altercations, no confrontations, none of that. But what she did for me that really helped a lot was allowed me time to process. And she actually reached out to me very gently and asked, could we sit down and talk? And she was so cute because she actually was like, before my nerves get the best of me. And I'm thinking, I ain't Michael Jackson, child. You don't have to worry about no nerves with me. So once we got together, we shared some laughs and understood one another as women. Because I told her, I said, if we're going to talk, let's talk about not being Coach Nazir's wives and getting to know each other. Let's not make him the topic of discussion. You know, first of all, I said it because, child, don't tell me something and I be got mad. Because that's really what it was. And then I said, I want to know who she is. Like, why, honestly, why did she want to choose to be in polygyny? And especially with, you know, Coach Nazir, like, what was the things? Like, I knew what it was for me. But I had to understand, you know, what is attractive to me might be something different for her. And I had to honor that. So, yeah, you got to be careful of the quiet ones. My grandma used to say still waters run deep. But yeah, getting to talk to her and get her side of things was important to be fair. You know, I had to be fair to her and say, you know what, if she wants to talk to me, then I need to listen to her. And that really, really helped me understand her story. You know, just listening helped me heal. So, okay, guys, let's see. Trust, respect, love is important in a marriage. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One thing that men will tell you, listen, if you don't respect me, keep the love. I love that quote. If you don't respect me, keep the love, because they value oftentimes, in many, many cases, they value respect far more than they do love. And women, we can, you know, we end up being a little bit different than that. We might say trust over respect, but men kill each other for disrespect. We know that. I should have said on live. Fix yourself first. Yes. Yeah, fix yourself. Or come with the intention to grow and listen and learn and turn your losses into lessons and say, okay, how can I show up as a better spouse. That is important. Goodbye lunch or dinner. Yes. I've had to say that. I don't have to wait till tomorrow to be better. It could be by this afternoon. It could be within an hour of me not feeling the best, But being able to say, you know what, I feel annoyed, but are you annoying others? Are you the one to be in the nuisance? And yes, never say never. I tell co-wives all the time, you're not talking yet. You haven't had a discussion yet. So absolutely never say never. Don't tell yourself, I ain't never talking to her. You never know who you're gonna need. My father died and my co-wife hugged me at a family meeting because I was falling to pieces. She was the first one to move. Kids didn't move, husband didn't move. She did. Because we were in a circle. We were sharing, we create a circle during our family meetings and we share our highs and lows, and I was sharing mine. And I believe it was the first anniversary of my father's death. He wasn't Muslim, but he drank himself to death. And I've never not said that. That's what it was. We all know it was coming. But I fell to pieces, and anyone that knows me knows that if I'm crying, I'm either very angry or I'm very heartbroken. It's one or the other. Might be having a sentimental Sunday, which sometimes looks like a sentimental circus, but that's what happens. So she knew that if I'm crying, heartbreak. And she broke the circle and came and gave me a hug. And I thanked her after our family meeting. I thanked her for it because at the time my children were dealing with their own heartbreak, and they probably couldn't even believe I was crying in the middle of. We were at our local masjid at the time. It was empty, but we were in there in the masjid, and I just couldn't hold it anymore, and I cried, and she came and hugged me, and I really appreciate that to this day. I really, really do. So yes. Okay. Yeah, letting go to grow. And that goes both ways. One time we got our husbands in a chokehold in our marriages. They can't move. Chokehold. I don't like to say leashes because that makes me think of dogs, and they're not dogs. But sometimes we can be really clingy to our husbands, and they don't want that kind of attention, y'all. They don't. They want to be able to grow, and become more. I think that's inside of men. They want to help, and they need to feel needed, and they have to protect. It is in them. And when we're so busy trying to extract what comes naturally to them, they just sitting there going, I don't know what to tell you, but it's like a drop in the bucket. It's swimming against the current. It's something that I don't look to do. The young, super newlywed me was like, oh, you know what, maybe you won't want to do that. Maybe you won't want polygyny. Just because he's not talking about it to you doesn't mean he doesn't want it. And he's loud. Maybe it hasn't been a safe space for him to discuss it. I know for me, I was like, oh, here it is. I know you can do it, but whoo, not today. Please don't talk to me about this. And then I was like, well, he'll bring it up. Why are you going to bring it up if you haven't invited him to bring it up? And you haven't said that you're open to discuss it. Don't wait on your husband to bring it up. Sometimes they just don't know how to approach it because maybe you haven't made it a safe space for him to speak up on it. And we expect people to come talk to us about things that we've not made the invitation warm. Have you ever wanted to go to a party and got an invitation that was decorative and beautiful and delivered and embossed it and this beautiful envelope? You're like, oh my God, I got invited to a party. And then you get, this other type of invitation where, there's a party going on. People have talked about it. And then you say, well, you didn't tell me. Well, yeah, I mean, you can come if you want to. Who's going to want to go to that? Who's going to want to be around that energy? You could come, but but then we expect our husbands to talk to us freely about polygyny, and we just shut it down before. I know that I did. But I'm like, if he's ready to have a serious conversation about him, I have no choice but to listen to him. I don't care how I feel about it, because he's allowed to say that. And he just did it. Why should he? Because you've made the conversation so inviting and so welcoming, so warm. No. We have to be very, very careful about what we do and how we do it, because our husbands don't know what's going on in our head until we really share it with them. And you don't have to be rude to do that. Question: do you recommend polygamy if wives are in different countries? I've seen brothers do it. I know it comes with its challenges. So, there's no cookie cutter way. That works for some families, for some it doesn't. It wouldn't work for our family. We like seeing, honestly, let's have a honest conversation. I like seeing my husband when I can. And I can't imagine him doing this with the family that we have in 2 different countries. We've been in 2 different countries very briefly, very, very briefly. And I just couldn't imagine being away from him and my bonus babies and my co-wife for too long of a time, and I mean brief. But I met a brother who was actually in the airport with us. He recognized me, and he was in Turkey. And my children and I were on a layover, and he was looking for Coach Nazir. And Coach Nazir wasn't with us at that time. We were flying to him. And he was like, "Is Coach Nazir here? Is he in the bathroom?" I'm like, "He's not here. We're flying to him right now." And that brother told me he had 3 wives in 3 different countries, and he flew like a triangle. He was all dressed up. He was like, "I'm going to one of my wives, and I go to Canada, and I go here, and I go here." And I mean across the world, not Canada, United States. It was like Canada, Africa, like that. I can't remember the third one, but yeah. So I just thought it was incredible. But that's what he had to do, because that's what he was able to do at that time. Now, I don't know if it got better for him. I told him I prayed that Allah make it easier for him to travel and see his loved ones, because he was very intentional about seeing his wives. So that's probably the most, I've known brothers that were on the continent, and then the other wife is in Malaysia and stuff like that. Brothers that had one wife in Jordan, one in America, like that. And they had to fly back every 3 months. And then with COVID, some people just got locked into different countries. So, for us, if you can avoid it, because you don't know if an emergency is going to happen. You don't know. It could be a medical emergency. It could be somebody passed away. And I know for Coach Nazir, he wants everyone within arm's reach of him, so that he knows what's going on with his family and he can get to us. You see what I'm saying? Because when he can access us, he can help. But when he's in another country and then he's got to fly back and forth, then it really makes it so difficult, because you don't know what people are going to do with these planes and anything else. And, it can be really difficult. Right, exactly. Your husband can't grow if you got him in a chokehold. Yeah, they need space and time just like anybody else. Okay, I'm gonna put this coming up. What's going on in America today? The abortion rate and the families dying off. If we can get real men, real women who is not on the list factor, yeah, it can work. And that's what I said. The women want to ask where all the good men, and a lot of the good men are married already. So I'm telling you, mark my word, mark your calendar. Women will be calling for polygyny. They fighting hard, some of them against it, but they'll be calling for it, because they're good men are out there, but they get overlooked oftentimes because social media has made this horrible laundry list of crap that a man must provide. I want this many purses. I want a yacht. I want a house. I want new shoes. I want another car before you. And they put all these different factors and rules, and the man got to be walking on eggshells. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Okay. Would it be okay if some women wanted to both work, or you think it would be best if they didn't work? It depends. It depends. My co-wife and I are educators online. We're coaches. So we work, but we're entrepreneurs. So we set our own hours. We decide who we're going to work with. We only take so many clients. So we have that, but we're also in our homes where our husband and our children, if they need us, we're here. And we work together oftentimes, not all the time. So you don't see Coach Nazir, Coach Nyla right next to me right now. And we're not like that on all our videos on YouTube either. We live in, our housing is different, close. We live down the street from one another. So, but it just depends if that's what you want for your family. I'm not against it. I'm online now with you all, so. Okay, so you have men walking around on eggshells with their current wife or relationship. Stop breaking eggs. Stop breaking eggs. You could set the boundaries. Remember us speaking about respect before? And we need to stop helping the eggshells be on the floor. Let's clean that up. Somebody said, I just remember being in a dark place, and this mentor that I used to listen to said, turn on the light. You're in a dark place, turn the light on. Okay? So we need to stop making it difficult for our husbands to talk to us. I made it difficult for mine to talk to me because he had made certain statements, and I was like, okay, now he's changing it, or then I'm around people that I don't need to be around. And I'm not saying like toxic people that are like for the streets. I'm just saying women that were like, oh no, I can't, and I won't, and I don't. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can, and I won't, and I don't. I mean, when I was younger and I just didn't know that I had to protect my circle, So then now the women that are in my circle are women that support what I do that's Islamic, because I do my best to be what I'm supposed to as a practicing Muslima. So I'm very selective about who's in my inner circle. I've had to let friends go. I've had to fire friends for disrespect. It is what it is. You'll get one warning. So I'm not going to walk on eggshells with friends, with anybody. I'm going to be respectful to my husband, but I don't want, where this is the 20-year-old me, where we can't have conversations that are mature, right? So that's important. So let's clean up the eggshells and let's get to the table and have a conversation like two grown adults. And monogamy, it's something that a bunch of men who didn't want to take responsibility for the women and the children and the relationships that they created, they didn't want to take financial responsibility for those things and moral responsibility for those relationships. Okay, we need more real sisters like you to teach and bring this out. You said that we live in this country with Christian construct. Yeah, when you're dealing in a Christian Jewish country, that was set up for people that had us in chains, it's difficult to talk about things that we used to practice before we even got to America. A lot of the tribes in America, for the native people, they were polygynous tribes. And we know what the continent produced as far as polygyny went. This is you're right, it's new. So if the oppressor is telling you, well, monogamy is the only way to be, the oppressor is telling you that. I'm just saying, look at these people talking about, honor the flag and carrying on, and we were slaves when they was running around sewing it. So I'm just, that's a whole nother live, you guys. But I think that's the end of the questions. I'm going to close this one out. But before I do, make sure you guys visit us at polygamycommunity.com for details on how to get into our polygamy community. Comment, like, and subscribe. Share this video because sharing is indeed caring. And we don't want to ever forget that. And that doesn't mean, we're going to share our truth too. And sometimes the truth of the matter is that we don't have all the facts. So that's part of it. And I'm going to close this one out, guys. And if you want details on our polygamy readiness assessment, visit us at outstandingpersonalrelationships.com. You will see that at the bottom of your screen. And see where you stand when it comes to practicing polygamy. It's such a detailed assessment. I love it so much. And we've gotten such awesome feedback from it as well. And one more very important thing I need you guys to do, as well as some of you may have asked us, is pick up your copy of Let's Talk Polygamy at letstalkpolygamy.com for your copy of our book. Now, remember, guys, you get 3 different perspectives on polygamy. So I'm one of the co-authors, in addition to Coach Nazir and Coach Nyla. So check it out, pick it up. Let us know what you think. Share your thoughts. Everything like that. So thank you all for showing up. I appreciate it. The support, the OPR team, family appreciates you all as well. I'm Coach Fatimah. I'm going to close out this week's polygamy quick tips tonight. I'm going to leave you off with some GLC. Okay. Everybody got it? All right. And I'm going to give you guys salams. Assalamu alaikum to you all. Yes, clean the eggshells up. Clean up the eggshells. Okay, until next time, y'all, make sure you're growing intentionally, loving fearlessly, and connecting on a higher level every single day. I will see you all in the next ones. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.
I'm Coach Nazir.
And I'm Coach Fatimah, his wife.
And I am Coach Nyla. I am also his wife.
We are the authors of the book,
Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored.
And I want to let you know, polygamy can be a fulfilling journey, but having a right support system in place makes all the difference. That's why we created the polygamy community, a space where you can be educated, equipped, and empowered with the guidance of mentors and coaches and a supportive community.
Our community offers you more than just education. It's an opportunity to connect deeply with others that are on the same path. You'll have access to programs and classes that will unlock as you engage, providing you with tools so that you can build stronger and harmonious families. Plus, our meet and greets are an opportunity for you to connect with potential spouses in a respectful environment.
Ladies, we know that embracing your femininity as well as strengthening your marriage is key when it comes to having a fulfilling relationship. So this is where our community is here to support you every step of the way. We have engaging communications, programs, as well as private events. And you can even inbox us directly as your coaches. So we are here for you. We are here to help you deepen your connection, enhance your communication, and become that incredible wife that you aspire to be, especially in polygamy.
Whether you're just beginning or looking to refine your polygynous journey, the polygamy community offers education, support, and opportunities that you will absolutely need to succeed. So join us, unlock exclusive programs, and take the next step to building your fulfilling polygynous union.
Girl, what's wrong with you?
Girl, polygamy. I'm hearing it everywhere. Polygamy this, polygamy that. Men want to be married to more than one wife. I'm sick of hearing it. Who want to be dealing with something like that anyway?
I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
What?
Well, I mean, if it's done right.
Who's doing polygamy right? Where can you even find how to do polygamy right anyway? What was that?
I heard that too.
What is this?
Wait a minute.
Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored?
The practical no-nonsense guide to practicing polygamy right?
You heard that right. And if you want to get your copy shipped to your door, make sure you go to letstalkpolygamy.com so you can learn how to practice polygyny properly.